Being an effective Onslaught leader depends on two things. One, the army offense in the Onslaught, and two, the size of the Onslaught. It is important to understand the significance of the difference between army offense in an Onslaught and troop offense in an Onslaught. Troop offense in an Onslaught adds extra offense to only your troops. It does not affect the other troops in the Onslaught. So here you would get an additional 320% bonus to your troops. On the other hand, army offense in an Onslaught adds added offense bonus to all troops in the Onslaught, yours and the other players. Therefore, the person setting the Onslaught needs to maximize army offense in an Onslaught. Here it adds 610% added offense to all the troops in the Onslaught, every clan member that joins, so it's a very important stat. The second factor that's important is the size of the Onslaught. The more troops you have attacking, the better your chances are of winning. Here, for example, my Onslaught size is a little bit north of 162 million, so you should try to maximize that as best you can. I'm going to briefly run through how to do your Onslaught leader setup. Here are my different hero setups. In my number 1 slot is my Pop Onslaught leader setup, so I'm going to go ahead and activate that. Then I'm going to go to my hero skills and briefly run through that. As you go down, you'll see that I maxed pretty much all of the siege options and all of the health and defense options, as well as the siege offense. Now, what's really important in the main hero skills is at the very, very bottom. So when you set these skills, you want to start at the bottom and work your way up. So here you want to maximize warrior number in an Onslaught, which gives you 20%. And here on the left, you want to do army offense in Onslaught, which adds extra offense to all troops in the Onslaught. This adds 10%. Not a lot, but it helps. Where the real power comes in is under special hero skills. So click over there, and here it's the same thing. You go straight down all the way, and on the right hand side you will see here army offense in an Onslaught 2. Click on that and you see it maxes 200%, which is a lot of extra offense to all the troops in your Onslaught. So you absolutely want to make sure you do that. And then, much like the main, you go down to the bottom, start your way up. So I maxed siege offense 3, warrior numbers in a march, and then worked my way back up. What you will find is that you'll be 10 points short from doing your troop type, both health, see here is siege health, and also your troop type defense. So you want to pick one, either, and here is siege defense 2, which I did not pick. I picked the health because the health is more help to your offense than the defense would be. So you won't be able to do both siege defense and siege health because you allocated those 10 points to the army offense. So my recommendation is whatever troop type you are, cav, melee, range, allocate the 10 points to the health and leave your defense blank. So with that, you then just want to go back to your hero, go to your hero set. You would want to click here, and then you would want to click the replace on the bottom to save the hero skill points setup. And it would be the same setup if you were the Onslaught leader. For a town Onslaught, you would just have the different gear on. So you want to use that in conjunction also when you're setting the Onslaught. You want to use that with the right, let me find it here, the right Asir. So you will want to go down, and the best Asir to use is Mimir, M-I-M-I-R, because as you can see, it adds a 20% army offense and Onslaught bonus. So when you set your Onslaught, you would activate your hero Onslaught bonus. You would start your Onslaught, and you would make sure you have your Mimir activated, and then you will be providing the maximum amount of offense to all the troops in your Onslaught. Finally, the last thing you want to do is make sure that you have the Vanquisher 2 repute activated. It adds 20% size to your Onslaught, as well as 150% offense to your Onslaught. It's a very valuable repute, so make sure you have it activated when you set your Onslaught. To summarize, guys, remember, at the end of the day, as the Onslaught leader, what you want to do is make sure that you are maximizing army offense in the Onslaught and maximizing the size of the Onslaught. The next question people usually have is about the gear for their setup. Now, there are two types of setups. One is where you want to join the Onslaught. You want to put your troops into it. In that case, you want to use the traditional setup. Here we just have the standard rain gear. It doesn't add any extra army Onslaught to the offense, but that's okay because your troops, if you're a max player, will add to it. Another reason you may want to opt for the traditional gear and setup is that it does allow you to maximize the size of your Onslaught. And the bigger the Onslaught, the better it is. And again, if you're a max player, you may want to contribute your troops and maximize the size of the Onslaught. So it's not a bad way to go. The second way to go is to have a standalone player. The standalone player only puts one troop into the Onslaught, a single solitary troop. He's not looking for kills, he's not looking for shards, he's looking to maximize everyone else. So what he does is he uses the assault gear on Rain. The assault gear adds extra offense to the army in the Onslaught, and it also increases the size of the Onslaught. You want to use Rain even if it's on a town, because Rain himself adds 10% army to the offense. And again, this is where the Onslaught setter isn't looking to score points, or kills, or shards, but to maximize everyone else. The next question we get is, what does that type of player use for their gem setup? I prefer to use Amber because it gives added speed to the troop as they're coming back, and if they're looking to protect their own troops, the Onslaught setter should use the Tourmaline for the added defense and the Ruby for the added health. And they can use a rune that either adds added defense or health to their troop type or their scouts. And that's, again, in case your enemy is setting an onslaught on you, the Onslaught setter, which does happen. And this is really just a matter of what your preference is. And the reason why it's so subjective is because there are no gems or runes that increase the size of the Onslaught or increase army offense in an Onslaught. If there were gems or runes that did that, or if Plarium does develop that, that is what you want to add. To summarize, to be an effective Onslaught leader, you have to maximize the army offense in the Onslaught and to maximize the size of the Onslaught. If you do those two things, you will win more battles and you will be an effective Onslaught leader. Irrespective of whether you're using either of the two models, where you're either joining the Onslaught with your own army, or whether you are using a single solitary troop and using the assault gear on your ranged shaman. With that advice, I wish you good luck and hope to see you in battle.